What's the matter with you? You can't take an ass beating, bitch! Shut up! Do something! You're smart, right? Do that thing! You! Come here! Breathe into his mouth!
Calling the Audible.
Booyah! Wow! this kicks like a mule with his balls wrapped in duct tape.
With Peas Dillery.
Tight, yeah!
And George Michael Collect Your Ass. Starts now.
Clean the manure out from between your ears. What did you do that for? Shut up!
Welcome everyone, you're listening to Calling the Audible on at www.theunclemikeshow.com. That's a great way to start a show. I am Peas. You can follow me at PeasFPF. I am joined by GM.
Inaccurately, isn't that how we start every show?
Pretty much. Also, it's how we finish every show, and it's all the content for all our shows. I am joined in the studio with GM Collect Your Ass. You can follow him at GM Cole44. Thank you, GM, for filling in for me at the beginning of the show. I was late because I'm irresponsible.
Our viewers and listeners don't know about the other show that you were late to.
I know, but
this show in its entirety is going swimmingly.
I'm an honest person. We'll talk about honesty later in the show, however, but I'm an honest person, so I like to own up to that. We're joined in studio with a very generous D's Delaries. He's making some background noise, doing a wonderful job. And one of the ladies of FPF joins us, of course, as well. So it's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show. And Eagle, yes, you're here too. I know you turn some knobs. You make us look good. You do make us look good, so I appreciate that.
And if you tweet him, it'll be right on there.
Absolutely, you can tweet him live at Eagle FPF. Remember that if you don't like what my hair looks like, he styles it personally. How was your week?
A little disappointing.
Because no
playoff losses. Yeah.
Mine was incredibly disappointing. Actually.
I know. I watched it happen.
I know.
I score kept it.
You watched
the foam roller.
You watched it break down and catch fire. And yes, but we'll talk about it soon. For now, however, we'll talk about Mongoose beating the Regiment 30-27. Don't read my notes because they're from last week's podcast. So just focus on your knowledge of the game and your knowledge of the teams. Is this how you expected this game to go? And if so, why?
I think that the Regiment seemed to be a little bit top-heavy and bottom-heavy at the same time, whereas Mongoose as a whole are a very, very well-rounded team. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest, and it didn't surprise me at the time to see that type of finish for this game. I mean, 30-27 is still close. However, Mongoose really made the adjustment in the second half and kept the Regiment out of the end zone, save for a touchdown, and it made the difference.
And the Regiment actually had the lead going into the second half, so that's impressive on their end. Not being able to close it out. I said going into this game that I thought this was a matchup between a team and the mirror, basically. Like they just look like the same team to me, more or less. The one thing I will say, I will agree that the top end talent probably. Overall is slightly better on the Regiment, but player for player is just good across the board for Mongoose.
And if you look at it, Mongoose has a better average of players. Like if you average the talent all out, they're all tackle players. They have that chemistry together. They haven't had these ups and downs. They know how to play, and they know how to play FPF well.
Absolutely. So I kind of saw this game going similarly as well. A game that I thought would work out as it did was also Les Barres beating Monstars 39-31. That's another game that I thought would go that way. Is this how you saw it going, or did you see it?
I do have to tend to agree with you. It's unfortunate for the most part because of the fact that Monstars were one of the top tier teams in Division 3. This was just a nightmare matchup for them, as it is a nightmare matchup for anyone, really.
But I feel, and you see Rod Mushtav throwing 40 passes in this game, it kind of feels like the reason for it is that he kind of had to get away from long ball. The Buddies defense works so well together. It puts so much pressure on the quarterback to keep driving the field. You'll eventually make a mistake. And that's why I think we saw this game. It just comes down to who do you think will make more mistakes, Fred Dupuis or Rod Mashtab. I think at this point in their careers, Dupuis.
I would bet on Dupuis
every time. I agree. Did you think it'd be a bigger spread though, or did you see it being this close?
I saw it being this close just because of how well the Monsters have been performing. However, with that in mind, the way that the Monsters defense tends to play, They play a lot of preventative defense and really let the work go on the shoulders of Rod Matchtoon and the offense. And when you have a prevent defense against Fred Dupuis, he's just going to eat it up because he knows that the defense are very physical. They jump a lot of routes. They don't let a lot by them, and they disguise their coverage well, the Buddies defense. So he knows that the Monsters' work was cut out for them, and he just took control.
That's fair. Guillaume Paquette, is he the best receiver in Division 3 that no one's talking about?
That no one's talking about, I would have to say so.
Because there's so much talent in the 3, so it's limited as to who we can talk about on a weekly basis.
Exactly, it's not a household name in FPF. When you think of the top tier talent on this team, you tend to think of someone like J.C. Bennett, Julien Zubé as well. Just guys who stand out and who have been staples on the Buddies team season after season. And
he's not on the score sheet. I don't know if he played Charbonneau as well.
He's hurt. Shane Turgeon.
He's hurt. Shane Turgeon also. Just chock full of talent. But Guillaume Paquette has stood out week after week. And I think that's absolutely amazing. To be the standout on a team that's so stacked, I find that absolutely amazing. In a game that seems somewhat amazing on the surface, but one media member did pick it. Actually, 2 media members did pick this game to go this way because I forgot that you picked this as well. BD Bandits, Wild Boys. To be honest, you convinced me. When I was writing my article, I was listening back to the podcast, and I was like, you know what? GM's got a point. I think I can see this game going that way. BD Bandits take it 27-22 over Wild Boys. Matthew Rene and the Wild Boys run is done. That is absolutely amazing. Team going almost undefeated into the playoffs. That one loss just seemed to carry some momentum as Wild Boys' offense just never seemed to get into gear.
I think that up until this point, the Wild Boys and Mathieu Rene hadn't really seen a defense like the BD Bandits. It was very, very tough for them to adjust, considering they went very confident and had the confidence the whole season with reason. Mm-hmm. Despite most of the naysayers, myself being one of them, they did really, really well. And I don't know if it's just a question of choking or failure to adapt to what BD Bandits were giving them, but BD Bandits were the better team by a lot here.
And I felt that if they would have to win, indeed Dimitru would have to be a big piece for Wild Boys. And we saw him get 6 catches, getting the bulk of the work, but still not enough in this game. So it's almost like they were willing to give it as long as they would bend but not break. So and then BD Bandits, once you give them that extra possession, Mark Belvedere is a different quarterback with confidence, and we saw
being able to roll out as well. At first glance, you'd think a rusher like Avery Thompson, who has such breakneck speed, would be good at containing Belvedere and really keep him in the pocket.
So Avery Thompson's really good at running in a straight line.
Correct.
And very bad if you sort of do the Matador act and leave the cape out there. He's so aggressive, and that's what makes him an amazing rusher.
A fearsome rusher.
But it's also his downfall, and we saw that someone in this game. The downfall for the Predators in their game was past their prime and penalties, because Maxime Giroux took 3 penalties in coverage against past our prime. Look, I'm a big advocate of this. Do it until you get caught. Mm-hmm. Once you get caught, Max, you can say whatever you want about the refereeing. Look, there's good refereeing, bad refereeing. There's referees that you'll agree with, referees that you disagree with. But
and at the same time, past our prime are doing the exact same thing.
If not worse. If not, and look, I've been critical of Passive Prime. What I will say is they do play a physical brand of flag football. They do get up in your face. They do instigate, and we sort of saw what happens if you let them get away with that.
They use their size.
Sorry?
They use their size.
They do, and you know what? Overall, Predators aren't a particularly big team. They're quick, they're fast, they're very tactical, but size, when you're playing a lot of man-to-man, could be a disadvantage. Do you think that's what went wrong? Because personally, I think it's tough to play man-to-man every single play against big physical receivers.
I do agree with that to a certain extent, but I think whenever we have the adage of youth and speed versus experience, this is one of the points where experience will win out. We saw this is a veteran.
I hate that you say it every time Win Mokan walks in, because it legitimizes him and it makes me angry.
So
for those listening, that was a high five between Jim Breakfast and Mokan. I just have to describe it because it's bad radio otherwise.
But these guys, Craig O'Brien, Kevin Wilson, who is a stalwart player who doesn't get nearly enough press.
No, he's one of the best defenders I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see standout games from these guys when it counted, and that's what it comes down to.
Bearskins beating the rising OTF 26-24. This was the game I had trouble picking. I eventually sided with Bearskins, but man, was it tough for me to make that pick. Bearskins just get by. Neil Ettinson getting away with, again, a subpar performance. Do you think like he'll be able to go through playoffs this way, or will he eventually need to step it up as he faces tougher competition?
The problem with this is that when you're so reliant on the defense, if they spend too much time on the field, they're going to burn out, they're going to wear out, and that's when mistakes are going to happen, because you know that they can't hold the field for 30 minutes out of 44. I think that the wheels may fall off depending on the matchups that they have at hand. We know how strong the Bearskins are as a whole. It all comes down to if Neil Ettinson can lead them that far. OTF looked really, really strong, especially getting that upset over Wild Boys, making it into the playoffs, doing what they've done all season. It just fell just a little bit short, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And a great effort by them. Daniel White's an interesting quarterback. I hope nothing for the best of him, because honestly, he's a great talent.
Honestly, it would be a pleasure to watch him evolve in this league and really become a more household name.
One thing, and I saw this on his highlight reel on Huddle.com, he tends to float the ball, which works because he's got a big arm. It works outdoors because you have a lot of space. It doesn't work in FPF. You have to be able to zip it. But he has the arm strength and the mechanics to do it. So once he makes that adjustment, I think he'll be a dangerous quarterback in seasons to come. Meta Mayhem. They have, in my opinion, a stalwart quarterback in Alex Hollowak, a guy who's been much maligned despite his championship, despite his success moving up through the divisions. He plays so much better with the chip on his shoulder, so I feel bad giving him so much credit, because no one thought that they would legitimately go in, other than me, of course. They would go in and beat Past Our Prime. Not Past Our, sorry, Prestige Worldwide. They do it this week.
We have Eagle mentioning as well his trending topic of the week, #, bring back Hollowak.
Yes, but that's an internal discussion for a team. I think they're better. I think No Regard was better with
was and were, yes they were.
Was and were better with Alex Hollowak, a quarterback. That's a decision for them to make. I'll leave that for you and Vince Nardone to discuss on The Truth coming later tonight. But look, this is an underrated team. A lot of great talent from lower divisions. No one knows Jeremy Anderson, but he's a defensive monster. James Nowakowski and Denny
made All-Star in Division 2.
Yes, but he's played Division 2 one season, right? So he's not that big name people know of. Let's say like a Steve Sander, you know what I mean? So because of that, a lot of people don't know him. He's just a great, intelligent football player. He's great on breaking at the ball, and he's showing he can get it done on the offensive side as well. He caught 3 touchdowns in this game. So, my opinion, Men of Mayhem, I think that they are sort of an underrated team. When I actually broke it down talent for talent, my personal opinion was that Men of Mayhem are just a better team than Prestige Worldwide. Top to bottom.
Who this season have had glimpses of greatness, just been up and down, which you don't normally expect from the defending champions of Division 3 to just have that inconsistency.
Absolutely. Speaking of inconsistency, do we need to talk about this game?
Yeah. You know John Laristis is watching.
I know he's watching,
to hear about
and
it.
He played a great game,
yeah.
And it was an absolute pleasure for me to share the field with guys like Robbie and John and Dan Dick. Honestly, it was a pleasure for me to share this field with Dick.
Yeah.
But the thing is that honestly, we're children on the shore.
Yeah, we are. But you know what? It's very refreshing. You see a game like this where there's no chirp, there's no
it was such a respectful
bad
game.
penalty. It was absolutely. It was one of my favorite games to scorekeep of that night, or even of the playoffs.
And what's interesting is the personalities involved in this game can be chirpy overall. Yep. But I don't know what it was. It just both teams had a lot of respect going into this game for each other. It seemed anyway, and both teams I felt had moments where they looked very good. I'll let you break down the move side of it. I'll talk about VPC. VPC, look, you know what they're gonna do. They have 2 very incredible athletes in Dick and in John Laristis. It was. You know what? We knew what we were going to get, and yet they still are able to deliver.
A lot of it had to do with the fact that Moose started off by shooting themselves in the foot and really starting behind the 8 ball. 2 3 and outs, and having to to punt twice in a row. VPC just started off like a runaway freight train, and it was hard for them to really catch up.
Yeah, and some uncharacteristic drops by their snapper. And
By everyone on Moose. Moose really couldn't pray for a receiver to catch 2 passes in a row.
Early on. Second half, of course, was a different story, but by that point, it was just too tight. And Robbie Robinson, you can't give him a lead going into halftime. We experienced it. It was the most frustrating second half of my life. That being
However,
said,
with that in mind, Moose still had the ability to win it. It all came down to that last play where Morissette dropped back, thought he had the hips to move out of the way on John Laristis, but Laristis, being the veteran that he is, just went straight for it and got that sack.
the hips did lie in that case. And of course, Brian Nguyen, unfortunately, dropping the 2-point convert in the previous drive.
And Robbie Robinson just taking a gamble on that last drive instead of running it in to put the game away.
Absolutely. And honestly, again, just I want to give a shout out. It was one of the, even though we lost, it was one of the greatest games I've ever been involved with. I want to thank VPC for coming out and giving us that great game. Another great game was Sea Assassins putting it out, beating Lizardist. I wanted to find a way that Lizardist would win just because I've been on them all season, but they I don't think they had the top and the talent to be able to keep up. And
it's odd. It's not that they don't have the talent to keep up, because they really do. They're all tackle players. They're fantastic.
Honestly, having played both teams this season, Sea Assassins are just a better flag team.
Yes.
For this game, that team is just so well constructed top to bottom. Lizards they need to play a close game and hope that you make a mistake. That's essentially how they've been winning games this season. Sea Assassins are just too effective.
I agree with you. If the tables were turned and this was outdoors and they had pads on, because both QBs are tackle QBs, a lot of these guys play tackle as well, you would be seeing a totally different story. However, we are talking about flag, we're not talking about tackle, and you just consistently fail to execute.
We are talking flag, and when we come back, we'll talk madness. We'll talk more flag. We'll break down the matchups to come. GM, rest up, because it's going to be a crazy second segment.
Woo!
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information, or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
Welcome everyone. You're listening to or watching Calling the Audible at www.theunclemikeshow.com. This is of course the podcast with the viewership with the highest IQ. Everyone knows it. It's a fact because I said it. Also a fact. I am in studio with GM Collect Your Ass. You can follow him at GM Cole 44. The Cole stands for Collect Your Ass. I am Peas. You can follow me at Peas FPF. Doing a wonderful job of twisting my knobs is the Eagle at Eagle FPF. We have a couple of tweets in here. We have one from John Laristis. John says, "Let everyone know your decision if you're in fact going to be the Paul Heyman of VPC. Hashtag Upset City." Honestly, John, I'd love to, just because I'm not even sure who Paul Heyman is, but I was told it's a wrestling reference. I'd love to ride the bandwagon, but I've actually been on the Buddies bandwagon for way too long, so I'm riding their bandwagon. So we'll see how this week plays off. If you're the last team remaining, absolutely. And if you're in the finals, I will absolutely ride your coattails. Ryan Reedy tweets in, which Del Rocca brother is better in D3? I want GM's answer, Mo's answer, and Eagle's answer.
So, without a doubt, Dave De La Rocca is better D3 defensively.
Well, because I'm not even a Div 8 defensive player, so yeah.
And Paulo is the better manager.
Fair. Mo.
I know that Dave was playing football.
Awesome. Mr. Irrelevant, perhaps. Eagle, your call.
I've played
You're the tiebreaker.
defense. I played defense with Dave. I prefer Peas.
All right.
Hey!
So who'd have thought?
Last
Et tu, Brute? Et tu,
You
Brute?
generate less penalties than Dave.
That's true. Therefore, that plus I play offense, so I'm bound to generate more yardage.
One more.
One more?
I'm sleeping with you, so.
Nice. Yes, you are. I won't say that on there, however. Anyway, so let's get through these. Matchups. I won't make any predictions, of course, or analysis because I'm going to be doing that in my article. So I'm just going to announce the game, and then you do the work for me, which is the best job I've ever had. In the quarterfinals, we have Les Badets versus the BD Bandits. There's a lot of B's in this game. Not in personality. I'm saying.
I just wanted to let that sink in for a
Yeah,
little bit.
not in personalities.
Okay.
But maybe in personalities. Go ahead.
Okay.
There's more D's than B's, by the way. Count them.
I was hoping for that. More D's than B's.
This
Eagle
game
says.
will be about the D. I really think that this is the best of the four matchups because it's going to be
agree.
very close. However, I think that the Buddies are just so well-rounded right now. As good as the BD Bandits defense is, I don't even think the BD Bandits defense is better than the Buddies offense. I'm totally open to being surprised. However, I don't think so right now because as good as they were before, they're just going to get a whole lot better. And having Mark Belvedere flustered and really being contained, even though Buddies are without Julien Payman, they're going to have answers for him at rush. I don't think
There's so many guys who can rush that team,
Yeah.
though. So I don't think that'll be an issue. So, your pick.
I think Les Buddies are going to take this one.
What do BD Bandits have to do to win?
Slow down the pace of the game.
I'd say be physical, too, because they're a much bigger team than Les Badets. So,
Buddies are far more physical. I think.
I agree.
If
I
they
agree.
play physical, it's a losing battle.
okay.
I think the BD Bandits need to hold on to the ball on offense as long as possible. Really draw out the clock. Slow down this game.
Bearskins versus Pastor Prime.
This one really, really interests me. It can go.
It's like it'll be a blow up, but we don't know for who.
Yeah. I would be surprised by neither outcome.
Okay.
I think in the end, the Bearskins defense is really going to fluster Craig O'Brien, considering how well that they put themselves into position. Who they have: J.M. LaPlante, Marco Bertoldi, Jacob Peterson, Kevin Libman. It's a solid defense from top to bottom. I think that Peterson rushing Craig O'Brien is going to be a thorn in his thigh as well. I see this game collectively being under 30 points.
Absolutely, and especially Craig O'Brien, who likes to look to his first read, look to his second, even if the first is open, and like he's so methodical in his decision making. I think Peterson can help disrupt that as well. We have a rematch between Sea Assassins and the vicariously pornographic chicken VPC. Sea Assassins won at 45-40 last time. Do you see this kind of offensive explosion in the rematch?
Absolutely. This is definitely a tale of two teams who are far better offensively than they are defensively. It's going to come down to a possession battle and who has the ball the most times.
I agree. Robbie has more passing touchdowns, but Lazara had 2 rushing touchdowns
In
in the last game.
Which ended 45-40.
I think actually this will flip. I think Robbie will need to run a little bit more. Look, I think Robbie's good enough to dissect a predictable Sea Assassins defense, but as for my actual pick, you'll have to wait for my article. In the last game on the docket, we have Mongoose, Meta Mayhem. This again is another interesting matchup. I don't think there's any sexy matchups this week, but I think they're all interesting. I think they all have the potential to be close or just go off the rails completely. So what do you think in this one?
This really does have the potential to go off the rails. I think that Meta Mayhem really need to play a disciplined game, not get into the chirp with Mongoose, not get into that physicality, and really play the game that they've been playing that brought them all the way here and not deviate from that. Because if they get frustrated, if they get flustered, Mongoose are going to take this handedly.
Absolutely. So your Final Four, as we head closer to the NCAA Final Four, of course, our winter season tends to parallel the tournament as well. You have Labor Days advancing. You have, was it Bearskins? Bearskins as well. Sea Assassins?
You didn't ask me the answer to that one.
Actually, yeah,
I wanted to
Sea
see how
Assassins
you
VPC.
proceed. I think VPC are going to take this one as a
VPC?
surprise.
And Meta Mayhem or Mongoose? Mongoose. All right. So that's interesting.
No one's going to read your article. You might as well just tell us your picks.
Nope. Gotta read my article. That's kind of the benefit. So, GM, before we go on, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is I really wish that at the beginning of the season you weren't right in stating that Solid would be the best team looking on the outside looking in the playoffs.
I'm not great at picking individual games, but for some reason I'm great at breaking down teams preseason.
What's that
And
movie title again? What was the movie title for your division?
Oh, the best teams who won't make the playoffs live here.
Hey.
I'm surprised. I didn't even remember that. I don't remember the show after the second after we finished. GM, I am sorry for that. I am sorry to see that you're out. I'm sorry to see I'm out. But the positive side is we get to work the finals together and go out to Shinois later on.
Yours truly.
With Mo Khan. It'll be a good time. We get to drive Mo crazy live. It's awesome.
Wait, how is that different from what we do now?
This week, am I going for one, going for two? Because we're running short, as we always do, I will go for one. As promised.
You're running short. I'm 6'1".
That's true. But I run longer where it counts. In our going for one segment, as promised, I'm going to sound off and retaliate towards Nick Bello, FPF employee, because it's also fun when people think we hate each other. Also, sometimes we hate each other. I was just going to say, and you know what? I'm going to say Nick Bello has some good friends in high places because I'm being fairly censored by the powers that be in this one. So I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be Paulo more than I'm going to be Peas. But what I will say is, Nick Bello, I've been playing quarterback 12 seconds. It's easy to take a shot at me to say, hey, Peas, your team, you said we would only win one game, but you only won one game to 5. Awesome. Hope you feel like a big man. All I'm going to say to Nick Bello is, listen, if you're going to call someone out, make sure your own hands are clean before you come eat at the table. Also, you know what that means. I'm not going to explain it to you because that's the kind of guy I am.
Also, if you're only going to win one game, unless you really re-overhaul your entire roster and take players from other teams.
Fair. GM, well done collecting your ass. You can follow him, of course, at GMCole44. I am Peas. You can follow me at PeasFPF. You can tweet us live weekly by tweeting us at EagleFPF. We will read it live because I read whatever's on the teleprompter. Thank you, GM, for everything you've done tonight, as well as filling in the other show. We're joined. Terry Tam is walking in. He's got his show next. Remember, the Uncle Mike show is at 9 o'clock p.m., where he has a very special guest. It is a chef at Beatrice. His name is Shant Mangulian. I'm sure they're going to talk a lot about the baseball game taking place at the Olympic Stadium as well. Absolutely. GM, enjoy the game. Thank you guys for all that you do, and thank you all for letting me be myself.
Are you going on?